Welcome back to the program, everyone. It is 8 in the a.m., time for our second discussion of the morning, and we all know that every human being has a role to protect the nature and as well reduce climate change, and even simple actions each and every day, like turning off the electricity when we're not using it, or walking, bicycles, and even using transportation to get to work, all have significant impact to our environment.
Indeed, and agree to that, Paul. And also, there are also some action that can tackle climate change, such as a holistic kind of way. Just like what our guest did through Sedekah Energy, which is his forum to discuss and respond to climate change issues presented collaboratively by Islamic organization in Indonesia. So she is here, and we're going to talk more and know more in depth about Sedekah Energy. Here with us, we have Sedekah Energy co-initiator Rika Novayanti. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here, Rika.
Good morning.
Thank
you for having me.
So let's talk about Sedekah Energy as a part of Mosaic organization, or known as a Muslim for Shared Action on Climate Impact. And we learned that this is a shared cross-sector collaboration of Islamic organization, academia, and also NGOs. Can you tell us more about Mosaic, its initiative, and also what it focuses on?
So Mosaic was actually a follow-up from a congress that we did last year, or the year before.
2021.
2021, yes. So in that congress, we kind of like came up with manifesto. It was 7 points. So basically all of the points are kind of like leading towards climate solution, how to leverage it, how to create it. And then from there, we realized that, oh, maybe we should create something. We should create like an initiative to put people together as a forum for people to share, not just about the climate change, but also about like the Islamic value, because it's so well connected. People wouldn't, it's not something that you kind of like, first thing you think about like climate and Islamic value, but the more we learn about it, the more we realize that it is actually part of the Islamic value, which is also kind of like shown in research that we did in 2020. We launched in 2021 that we figured that more than 90% of people in Indonesia believe that it's interconnected, that they have to protect the planet because God said so, because Allah said so.
Yes.
And 84%, I think, people of the respondents saying that, oh, the Quran asked me to do so, so I have to do it.
Right.
And people were like, this is not just about the government, but this is also about us, and this is about kind of like us as a Khalifa.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when we realized that when we talk about climate, people always talk about like all of the big words, right? People talk about net zero, like, but do you understand what net zero is? Like, like I studied climate, but then every time I read or I watch people on TV, I'd be like, whoa, my mom wouldn't understand that. So then I was like, what can make people feel more relevant, understand about climate crisis that is kind of like part of my everyday life? So that's when we kind of like create, oh, okay, Mosaic is important because people believe that it is part of their kind of like faith belief.
And it's easier to digest, right?
It's easier to digest for people to kind of like to see that, oh, this is actually relevant for me. This is what my God asked me to. So, and luckily, Indonesia is not like in other countries where there's kind of like, you know, like conservatism against the climate. Like people say like religion shouldn't be supporting science and so on and so forth. We see like the exact opposite. In Indonesia, religion and science going on and on together. So that's when we kind of like, okay, this is it. We have to approach climate through the lens of religion, through the lens of faith, because that's what people believe. And that's what people kind of like not just forced to believe, but that's kind of like what they generally believe. It's part of our life, right? So instead of kind of like putting on new value, why don't we work around the value? Like, you know, dance with the beat.
It's actually, it's actually been there. And you're very correct that how it becomes more relatable because, you know, using those kind of big words and, you know, especially with the major society, they would not penetrate it to action because they don't understand it.
Exactly.
No, it's actually a part of our faith and our value.
And not to mention, in a country like Indonesia, you're going to reach a much larger audience.
Exactly.
Well, right now, being an initiative from Mosaic, and also a bridge, I suppose, between religion and awareness for the environment. So what is being expected of Sedekah Energy?
So a lot of people think that, oh, this is about the energy, this is about the number, this is about the installation, but it's not just about kind of like the technical part. When we talk about energy, people don't really connect energy and the electricity. It's so intangible. You cannot see energy, right? It's like it's like the wind.
Yes.
You feel it, but you don't see it. So that makes people hard to make it relevant. So what we aim is to talk more about energy, to make people realize what energy is, what consists of energy, what is renewable energy. Because like before we can talk about renewable energy, we have to talk about energy first, right?
Right.
And then when we start talking about renewable energy, we can kind of like start talking about energy efficiency, about the climate crisis, how we tackle it, how we leverage it. And at the same time, it's easier for people to understand because we bring the technology. By we, I mean not just Mosaic, but people who we work with in the grassroots level. We bring the technology to the grassroots. We bring it to the mosque. People can feel it, touch it. So we can debunk the myth that renewable energy is inaccessible. It's too expensive. It's like too advanced. The technology, it's not. Like you can install a huge solar panel just by 80 million, for example. I mean, 80 million is still a lot, but we shown it's successful for us to kind of like raise funding.
It's achievable.
Yeah, it's achievable.
And it saves you money in the long run.
Exactly. It saves you money. Like the mosque wouldn't have to pay for electricity bill for a very long time. So people feel it directly and people kind of like see it and touch it and people were like, oh, okay, renewable energy is not just what the smart people on the TV talk about, but this is something that we can do. We can install it because they install it by themselves. We teach them how to maintain it. And they kind of like, oh, we're actually smart enough to do it. Like, we're not gonna let other people to tell Indonesian are not smart, Indonesian are not knowing what they're doing in renewable energy.
Right.
Like, we've shown that Indonesian are very smart, we're very capable of doing all of this without having to kind of like, bring, smart people from the outside.
Can you fully power a mosque with energy?
Not just the mosque, we powered the whole village.
Oh, my goodness.
wow.
Okay.
So because now we cannot export the electricity to PLN anymore, we have to have a battery storage, and we have like a large battery storage that, this is like one of the very heartwarming story from the village. They were like, oh, there was like a 24 hours blackout, and the only mosque in the whole area that can have azan is our mosque. And they were like,
Because they already concerned.
yeah, because they already have the renewable energy. And they were like, we're crying. It's so beautiful because it's all dark, but then there's like one light in our mosque and we have azan there. And I was just like, oh, this is the impact that we want. This is something that, kind of like you can show that it's helpful, not just about the energy, but also like resiliency.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because when we talk about climate crisis, we see that people with less money, people with less fund, usually less resilience. Like, if you're living in central Jakarta, or if you're living in SCBD, you will not get flood. But if you're living in Semarang, you get flood a lot of times. So then kind of like there's a little bit of injustice there. So that's what we're trying to do, not just kind of like talking about the climate crisis, but also solving the problem of environmental injustice.
That blackout thing is an added benefit. That's not even like part of the main benefits. That's like a bonus that you get on top of that too.
A light of the village, and it's going to be a domino effect. But I'm very curious also, Marika, in regards to this program, how difficult, was it challenging, or was it very easy, especially for the people in the village, to adapt this kind of program? Because maybe usually, especially like mosques, they're very known to like fundings, but this is through something that is very different. And also for the people that, giving these funds, usually they know when it's giving a fund for their faith, for what they believe in, is going to be very easy. But now it's in a different kind of form, right?
Like you mean the donations?
The donations. Usually it's just come some form of money, but now it's through something for a greater good.
Yeah.
How is it? How easy or how challenging it was?
I'm going to answer with the key is to talk to them through the language that they understand. So I think it will be harder if we don't talk to them in a way that they understand. But because we talk to them like in a way that we just adding to the value that they already have. So it was like way easier. We talked through sedekah in the lens of, Islam already have all of this value about injustice, about kind of like helping people. So we just adding to that. So that is very easy, especially when we have like all the leaders, like not me, but like all of the impacting leaders out there to be with us and talk to us, not just the older kind of like Islamic leaders, but also like influencers. And it's all like a really good way to put people together, talk through things that makes it really easy.
Watching great video, by the way. This is, I guess everyone's just pitching in as well to do the work
Yeah.
themselves, just like you said. Apart from actual fundraising through regular donations for those that visit the mosque, what other forms of fundraising do you do?
Well, at the moment, we did like most of the fundraising through like a platform.
Okay.
So, but also other fundraising that we're gonna do in the future. So, people, we're gonna have more fundraising. It's for the forest.
Oh.
So, in Indonesia, two biggest emissions coming from the forest, like deforestation,
Yeah.
and coming from the energy sector. So, the Sedekah energy is to kind of like tackle the energy sector, and then the we call it wakaf forest. So, we raise wakaf funding to not just kind of like protect the forest, but also reforest some area to raise more carbon, basically. So that's another way that we're gonna do in the near future.
Nice.
So you were also mentioning before that actually the solar panel was, implemented or put it there by the people itself. They're doing the maintenance. Who gave like all this instruction? Because for me, for some reason, I need like a manual book for me to like read and whatnot. Or do you, from the Sedekah Energy and also from Mosaic, come there to visit time and time to see how they're doing?
Especially with maintenance, right?
Yes.
So we want to do it end to end. We don't want to kind of like give in the solar panel and leave it, because we see a lot of projects from before that if you go to Bandanera, there's like a huge solar panel and then it's not functioning. So what we're trying to avoid that by, we did a very thorough research early on, like which mosque, which area. One of the main point of the research is the area the mosque should have a work community, a community that will work around the solar panel and work with the mosque. So we kind of like engage that community. We work with them like I think like a month or 2 months before. We already live in with the people in the village. We actually like stay with the people in the village. So yeah, it's very cute. And then most of the young people work with us. So we gave them like a what you call it, like almost like a seminar, a workshop to introduce what solar panel is, the parts of solar panel, and also like introducing like all of the hard technical words, right? And then they understand the solar panel, they know how to kind of like install it and how to maintain it, and we come to the village from time to time, so it's all kind of like just the Mosaic collaborators. I think shout out to Enter Nusantara, which is like it's all like a youth-driven organizations, part of the Mosaic, who actually do the training and do the installation with the local people.
And you can imagine from that, they can also have like new careers and whatnot.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
Just with the solar panel. and the
Exactly.
mosque.
Yeah.
And very technologically forward as well.
Yeah.
Do you have a target? Because there's numerous mosques, you can't even count how many there are. Do you set a target for yourself as to how many you hope to have?
Yeah, the way we do our work is kind of like through testing and leveraging. So at the moment with the Sedekah Energy, we're still in a testing phase.
Okay.
So we only had like 2 projects now. And by the end of this year, we should have like a more thorough evaluation, because we do evaluation kind of like very...
Like what works, what doesn't?
Yeah,
what
very
you need to tweak.
connected to each and every work.
Right.
So by the end of this year, we should know like what will make sense as a target, what kind of like work that we should leverage more in the future, like how big the wakaf hutan should be, how big the Sedekah Energy should be. And we also kind of like want to see like the political situation, because there's gonna be like election and stuff like that. Yeah, we don't know like what will be the next regulation for the government. Maybe it will be easier or maybe it will be harder. So that's something that invite us again at the end of this year.
You can give us an
I will
update.
tell you. Yeah.
Speaking of updates, where have you tried this already, and where are you planning to reach? Like, is there a target when it comes to specific regions? Because you did mention there is a bit of an injustice when it comes to areas, especially the more rural areas outside of the main cities.
Yeah. So one of the points that we always kind of like scrutinize is the impact, how big the impact the mosque can be, can give. So the first project that we did was in Sembalun. Have you ever heard?
No.
It's in Lombok. It's a really beautiful village in Rinjani. So they don't really have electricity. Kind of, it's very intermittent. So we think that that's very impactful. If we work with them, then it can help with the agriculture, the schools, and other stuff. And the second one we did was in Jogja, because in Gunung Kidul there's also like a water issue, and if they have electricity, then they can kind of like get more water, and
pumps,
this
that's
mosque,
right.
yeah, and this mosque also can help like the people
Yeah.
who live around the mosque. So that's kind of like the two main things that we see, like the community and the impact. And then next, maybe we also want to see kind of like that kind of mosque that has a good community and also has a big impact. We don't know yet. It might also be in Jakarta because like urban poverty is a thing
Yes.
that people often overlook. So yeah, so we kind of like, I cannot say anything because the research is not finished yet and I don't want to say things not based on the baseline data.
Right.
But again, invite us again and I will tell you.
But I just so love this initiative because it does propel to positive light, especially in tackling
Yeah,
the
no pun
climate
intended.
change. And yeah, and then also in our faith, you know, and this
Yes.
is something that we
Yeah.
know. We speak a lot about it now. We have to take an action. Now, how
Exactly.
can we take part of this beautiful journey then, Barika?
Yeah, you can either be part of the Mosaic. Mosaic is like pretty open organizations. We have Congress every year. I think we're gonna have another Congress this October or yeah, is it? Yeah, October. So come to the Congress or join our initiative. We also have like Umat Untuk Semesta. It's an Instagram account. Follow us, Umat
Okay.
Untuk Semesta, where you can learn more about our initiative and you can learn more about kind of like the people behind Mosaic. And also we are building a website now, so mosaic/indonesia.com and mosaic/indonesia.id. So, so yeah, from there you can see which one is more relevant for you because you can be kind of like part of the system thinker in the Mosaic, or you can also be kind of like, I want to be like a donator,
Okay.
or I want to be kind of a technical expert.
Oh,
Help
yeah.
in different ways.
find your calling.
Yeah, find your calling.
Exactly.
calling.
It's great that you're actually sharing. So all this information is available. People like transparency these days, especially when it comes
Yes.
to how to help as well. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Monica.
you for having
Thank you for
me.
doing this. I mean, this is a great thing that is being done, and we hope that it continues to spread throughout the country.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll come
Amen
back
to that.
again to our show right here in the studio for an
All right.
update. Thank you very
After
much,
the
Barika.
elections.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we'll return with some features right after the break, so stay tuned right here at the C Morning Show, only on C Today.